he said that he's pathological and that he's got basically pathological disease. If you're a child molester, there's no cure. They can't stop you. Pathological, there's no cure.
Now that he's completed his gratuitous attack, why don't we press on and deal with the real issues? You know, the reason that I'm in this race is because there are some real profound issues that affect the trajectory of our country right now.
For more on this story, we're pleased to be joined by my old Capitol Hill colleague, former Congressman Michael Patrick Flanagan from Newsmax Washington, and from Newsmax New York, noted radio and television commentator Ellis Henican. Gentlemen, as always, we thank you for your time on Newsmax Prime. Michael Patrick Flanagan, Trump making a speech almost an hour and 40 minutes, dedicating 9 minutes to Dr. Carson, and we just heard him there. Is this going to do in the Donald?
I don't know. The Donald is difficult to gauge, and the people who support him gauge. I think the Donald's popularity has more to do with his unflagging support for a harsh immigration policy, which a large number of Americans, Republicans, and Democrats I know as well think is terrific. I think the first real candidate, if you want to call it that way, who embraces something close to what the Donald is talking about will take many of those supporters from the Donald. But I don't think that's going to happen until that happens. And about Dr. Carson, I mean, what a class act, what a guy. Any Washingtonian politician would have his surrogates out today with flamethrowers strapped to their back, burning Trump to the ground, and he's not even bothering with it. He's dismissive and moves on. He's really quite a guy.
Ellis, I imagine you're watching this with, I won't exactly call it bemusement, but your take on Trump and the future of his campaign.
I think Trump is a force of nature. None of the rules apply. In fact, to either one of them, right? Neither one of them has shown any ability to be president. Let's just be honest, right? I mean, Carson has no grasp of the most basic issues that we expect of our political leaders to understand, right? What was it yesterday? He was putting the Chinese in Syria and then insisting he had some kind of special intelligence briefing that supported it. Trump seems to have only the most wild and slogany views of issues and no sense of nuance or delicacy or sophistication from either one of them. And yet they're at the very top of the polls. They're playing to this anger and enemy and frustration and bitterness that's so pervasive in the Republican electorate this year. And you know what? One or the other may well get the nomination. Bring them on, I say.
All right. Michael, since you are down there in Washington, I've got to ask you about the story in the Washington Post this morning about Republican insiders ready to push the panic button and asking Mitt Romney to get back into this thing. Now, I know a lot of conservatives don't talk that much with the Washington Post. Have you heard any talk like that down in D.C., Michael?
I can say honestly I haven't. I don't read Pravda, and when I do read Pravda, I read the original article. I see no reason to see it recapitulated in the Post. The Democrats, liberals, I should say, fascination with Trump and Carson from their pseudo-intellectual preppy snob point of view that they're not smart enough to be president. They're plenty smart. They're plenty capable. There's a lot of qualities you need in a president that have nothing to do with whether you know where this guy is or that guy is. And many of these comments that I've heard today and elsewhere about Trump or whatever are comments that you heard often about Reagan, too. Oh, he has no grasp, he has no understanding. Turned out to be a terrific president. I'm not saying Trump is Reagan, I'm not saying Carson is Reagan, but I'm saying that being one of the biggest brains is not always the asset that we want to be in a president. Look at our current president, an economic disaster, but touted to be one of the smartest guys around. So I think there are some effetes in the party who want that kind of candidate and are busy trying to find one. But I don't think that the electorate is going to be overcome on this. I think that they've had it, and I think that they want an outsider, and I think they're going to have one.
Well, when we take a look at what Donald Trump was doing last night in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Ellis, I want to get your comments about what we're going to see right now. Trump acting out Dr. Carson's story of trying to stab someone when he was younger. Trump does that, then goes on to essentially insult the Iowa voters. Let's take a look.
But he took the knife, he went like this, and he plunged it into the belt. And amazingly, the belt stayed totally flat. And the knife broke. How stupid are the people of Iowa? How stupid are the people of the country to believe this crap?
Usually, it's not a good idea to insult the folks you want to have vote for you. But Trump, as you mentioned earlier, Ellis, seems to defy political gravity.
He does indeed. You know what? Sometimes people like being insulted. What can I say? And I guess you can look at those polls two ways, right? You could say they're idiots for believing Carson, or you could say, hey, they're idiots for having Trump so high in the polls, right? Either explanation will do, I'd say.
Well, I know that you're very eager to, I won't call it prep school snobbery, Ellis, but you're eager to relate some
How about
intellectual
common
deficiency.
sense, JD?
Well, there's a lot of common sense in terms
Maybe
of,
that's what I like to call it.
a lot of common sense in terms of getting a handle on our porous borders and actually living under the rule of law. But let's continue with this vein, Michael Patrick Flanagan. You said earlier that the candidate who steps up with the Trump argument about illegal immigration should go up in the polls. That's Ted Cruz. Evaluate Cruz and his performance.
Actually, Carson, too, is modifying his views on immigration as the campaign goes on, and as he moves closer to a harder line on it, he goes up a little bit. I think that's the issue of this campaign. I think the Democrats are ignoring it at their peril, and I think that Cruz is going to do well if he adopts that line entirely. And this gives Trump supporters a chance to leave Trump and go to another more established candidate, let's say, one with more Washington experience.
Michael Patrick Flanagan, Newsmax Washington, Ellis Henican, Newsmax New York. Gentlemen, we thank you for your time.